Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I've done a video. For those of you that don't know, I was on vacation, and since coming back and popping into Dune Awakening, it looks like there's a lot of abandoned basins. Now the reason for that is simply because there's a lot of people not playing, not logging in, and that's the whole end game stuff, a subject for another video. Today, I just really want to show you quickly how you can loot abandoned bases in Haga Basin. I saw various people posting about this on Reddit, so I set out to try it myself, and let's jump into what we discovered. So the only bases that are going to be lootable are ones that are powered down. As an FYI, just so you know, you can avoid this by keeping yours powered. You can always come to your Fief console and use refuel generators. This equally disperses power throughout all your sources, and you can always look here to see how much time you have until you will fully power down. Once your base becomes powered down, you are able to be raided, so to speak, using this manner I'm kind of going to show you. So the next step really for us is to go and seek one of these bases that is powered down. So this one I'm not going to do. This is a friend's base who stopped playing, but this, for example, is powered down. There would be shields here usually. These are the bases that are vulnerable. You'll come up to them. They clearly have no access marked on them, which means you can't loot anything in here. That is because the Fief is still intact. Now here's the Fief. This would have to be destroyed, because the only way this will destroy is by decay. And the way base decay is working, which is what I saw a lot of people talking about on Reddit, is it takes so long for these bases to naturally decay. They seem to be decaying from like the center out, top down almost. So you can actually look at the decay rate if you pull out your building tool and swap to repair. You can see the health on a lot of things, and you can see how this base is decaying, but you'll see which parts are not decaying. There were some boxes here, for example, they already decayed. So whatever loot was inside of them is also gone. But at this rate, everything on the upper floor will decay before this thing finally opens up and decays. So as a result, no one's really going to be able to come and loot this stuff. But if we destroy the Fief, through unnatural means, and in our case, the only way we can do that, since players can't destroy the Fief, is to get mobs to come, or enemies to come and destroy the Fief. So our next goal will be to go out and find some juicy bases, which is where I started next. Now this first base I found turned out to be super juicy, and it was actually quite easy. The first thing I had to do was fly in and find the Fief, which we found pretty much immediately. Next up, I went to find the closest mobs I could find. And this is where I started to experiment and play with things. At first, I was trying to aggro them. I tried using the Benny Compel skill, which is useful and we are going to be using. The problem I had here is I was trying to pull these range mobs, and as it turns out, they don't have much leash range. I tried all sorts of things. I tried to block their vision to pull them. It's just, they sucked overall. So I tried different mobs. I tried the little patrol ships to see if I could get these guys. They turned out to leash much further, but this showed me something, that each mob is actually different. And the ones that I really did want turned out to be the melee guys, or as Funcom calls them, rushers. Now rushers aggro and leash much further than any of the other guys, so they're going to be the primary thing that you want to use. By default, they always melee unless they can't reach you, and they can't reach you if you're flying or if you are propped up on something. So at first trying to pull this guy, I wasn't having luck, and he kept resetting and pulling away. So I improvised and put a little ornithopter there, stood on that, and that kind of gave me the perfect angle I was looking for. He pulled out his pistol, he started firing, and now I have a Fief that's actually taking damage. Now here in this process, this took a little while because I didn't realize this guy was pretty much at max range, but that was okay. It took about 7-8 minutes of him shooting until this Fief would finally be destroyed. Now once the Fief is destroyed, you want to immediately place your own. You have to claim the land pretty much, and it's wide open. Once that Fief is dropped, anybody can plop down a Fief there. So just letting you know, not likely that there's tons of people lurking around in Haga Basin that are going to, contest you on this. But if you were lurking around and somebody else was around, they could plop down a Fief, claim ownership. That's just how it works, just an FYI. So what I'm saying is you basically want to have a Fief slot open, available, and ready. Once you've placed down your Fief, you can start going through and looting the boxes. I mean, you technically can loot it and look inside them before you place a Fief, which is kind of what I did. I looked at this guy's base. They were actually pretty well advanced. They had a lot of goods for crafting. Many of the things I don't need, so I'm searching for what I do need, which is like plastinium, spice melange. I could break down different factories, like their advanced spice refiner, their advanced ore refiner. They had a lot of materials. I found plastinium in this base. I ended up finding 15 laser gun recipes and other various blueprints. All of these things worth way more than I would make out in the entire week of Deep Desert. And I'm able to haul all this in about an hour, hour and a half. Now it's very heavy, so you want to at least bring a buggy once you've secured this loot in boxes, kind of moved things and shuffled it into a location. This is generally what I did. I'd find everything in the base of value, I'd shuffle it all to one spot, put it all under one fief, and then I'd go, and in my case, I just grabbed the goddamn carrier and I flew in a sandcrawler, because that bitch can hold 7,500 and I was loading her up. This base had a lot of stuff in it. So I made out pretty good on this one, but I wasn't done. I thought that was pretty easy once I finally figured it out, and I set out for the next base to see if I could find another. Sure enough, there's quite a few outside. This one didn't look as juicy, but the fief's in a bit of a different location, so I thought, let's give it a go. I found a camp nearby. I killed mobs until I got a rusher to spawn, and I set to task once more to see if I could get the job done. Sure enough, I was able to get a position again, while also taking repeated shots to the face. I had a good spot, and this one died much quicker. It only took a couple minutes this go around. And then boom, another rotting husk was destroyed under the watch of the Harko Hammer. In this case, I was able to go through the base. It didn't have too much in here, but again, there's various things that are nice that people generally stack up over the lifetime of their gameplay experience, like different healing consumables they don't use. Various things that come in small amounts, but everybody gets a certain amount. Those are things I took off, and anything I could use to sustain my base. And as always, there's usually some pile of blueprints sitting somewhere in a base. I don't know why people don't consume these. They like to just kind of stack them up. So now I had done 2 bases. I had some proof this worked. It wasn't a one-off, but I was actually kind of enjoying this. So now I set out just for a personal challenge to see maybe this is possible. A very large base outside of ours has lost power as well, and we weren't particularly friends with these guys as they blocked off a lot of aluminum to us week 1. On top of that, he put his name Fet on the roof, letting everybody know Fet lives here. So I thought, let's see if we can get inside Fet's base and destroy it and enact a little bit of revenge. However, this would be quite challenging as there are no camps, no mobs anywhere near this base, and his fief was buried inside against the mountain, elevated. But I was determined, and my challenge would be, can I get a rusher down from the test station below all the way up top? Now I knew Operation Fet Strike would not be easy and without difficulties, but I was able to learn a lot along the way, which is why I'm showing this to you and sharing some info. For one, we definitely still want to use the rushers, but their pathing can be finicky. They will leash back. So we do want to make use of compel when they're hitting leash ranges. Now for the most part, I was able to pad this guy up a mountain and get him up here, but at a certain point, he would go back down. Now I was able to get around that by simply cutting off his exits and kind of trapping him up there. Now I had him part of the way up the mountain, but I had to figure out getting him the rest of the way up there. So I continued building my Stairway of Vengeance, which needed a couple more foundation pieces to get the proper elevation to get us up high. However, as I climbed up, I started to realize that there is this separating space between fiefs where you can't directly connect stairs or ledges to another fief. That is to say, there's a little bit of a buffer zone between building of one fief and another. And this would create a problem for me as I could get the rusher all the way up to the top, trap him up there, but I wasn't able to get him to make that leap across. I tried different mechanics. He didn't even want to interact with the pentashields that were broken. So this mob wouldn't jump, it wouldn't come in, and I thought I was dead in the water at this point. However, after using Compel one time and pulling him off the ledge, I had an epiphany.
Well, Mom said it was gonna be easy. All right, darling. Saddle up. Slingshot time.
The trooper skill, Collapse Grenade. Collapse Grenade pulls things, and I've used this to pull people through shields before, but in this case, I would be slingshotting and pulling the rusher mob inside the base. Once he was in there, I realized he didn't like going through doorways, so I compelled him to go through the doorways. He would try to retreat to corners, but I would collapse him back onto ledges, reset his pathing, and keep moving this guy along. Between Compel and Collapse Grenade, you can really move things around, kind of mess with their aggro, and sky's kind of the limit on this one. All in all, I was eventually able to get inside, get this rusher to shoot at me on a Fief in some weird-ass corner, and Operation Fet Strike was a success, and a third base fell, and now there's more loot to plunder. Countless amounts of blueprints, lots of resources. My issue starts to become, where do you store all this stuff? But at least I get to level this base and return the aluminum back to the people. Ultimately, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it useful for picking up some loot. I expect the devs may make changes to this, but to be honest, I don't see this as a big issue. A bold majority of these bases will be decaying, and that's an unfortunate part of the current reality of Dune Awakening's endgame. That subject's been beaten to death, and I'm not going to go into it in this video. I may have a couple videos I want to do, including something on Dune's combat, maybe a state of the game or future video if that's of interest. I feel like that subject's been exhausted for people a bit though. It's one I care about though because I've enjoyed the world of Dune a lot. I've invested a fair amount of time and truly enjoy various aspects of the game despite the shortcomings of its endgame. All in all, I hope you guys can nab a base or two that you've been watching rot outside your bases. Let me know in the comments if you guys score anything big or have any other techniques that can help people move mobs around. As always, please leave a like in the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing for more Dune content. This week I'll be trying to put together a video showing actual weapon damage with different passives and techniques for Trooper / Mentat build. So hopefully I'll catch you guys on that one. Until then, take care. I'll see you next time.